All right, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Bogey Free Back and Body group. It is a wonderful Wednesday morning. I'm only about 15 minutes behind here. I apologize for that. But thank you so much for being with us here this morning. And if you are watching this on replay, listening and replay, again, thanks for the support. Got a lot of good stuff happening in the group and in the clinic here. If you haven't heard, I'll just kick off. We got our Golf Performance Academy, the platinum level, kicking off next week. So this is a whole litany of things, but probably the primary thing that you could get involved in if you're local and you're interested is our small group, semi-private group training, golf performance training. This is a group of individuals coming together and getting after it for the upcoming golf season, and it's probably the only golf-specific, sports-specific group training in the Fox Valley. So this is a monthly commitment. It's a monthly subscription. First class is free, and it's going to be a standing time every Monday and Friday at noon for the people that are able to make it and want to. Just reach out to us in the comments and let us know. We'll be happy to get you rolling with that. Secondly, we have our big gold standard kind of staple online program kicking off in 2 weeks. So this is hence the name Bogey Free Back and Body. This is our online program that kicks off here in 2 weeks. And this is kind of a done for you, go at your own pace program, although there will be different than some of these other online programs I've seen out there. There's going to be a live kind of small group coaching component to it, virtually of course. And it's going to help us go through questions and get an idea of why you're doing what you're doing in the actual programming. So those are the two big things to keep your eyes peeled for. On that topic, what are some of the things that we help people with here? Well, we help them hit the ball farther. We help them feel better doing it. We help them play as much as they want, however they want, whenever they want, without feeling pain or without having to stop their round because of pain or lack of energy. And hopefully we help with consistency. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that aspect of consistency today, because we're going to talk about slicing the golf ball. I'm going to give you the top 3 reasons that I think why somebody might slice the golf ball. I saw Sergio on a post recently talking about a good way to eliminate the over-the-top pattern. And he was talking about, and really obviously coming from anybody at that level, they know what they're talking about, don't get me wrong. But it was interesting to hear Sergio talking about, pulling the hands down is kind of one of the primary moves. And so it just got me thinking, we work on body mechanics and we work on the idea of how the energy transfers through the body for the golf swing with our rotational athletes. And it's interesting to think about how that type of cue makes sense but might not work for individuals often. So we're going to talk about the top 3 reasons why you would slice the golf ball. Now, the obvious reason, if anybody has worked with a swing coach or kind of understands, the obvious reason that you slice is that your path and your face, so the club path and the face of the club, that difference is why the ball is going to take the path it's going to take. So traditionally, or most easy way to frame it is the club, comes over the top or outside to in on that path, but the face is left open. What you're going to see is a ball that starts left and really, really sprays to the right. Okay, that's our classic slice. Now, oftentimes you could say it's the club path coming over the top, outside to in, and the golfer is trying to square the face, and so therefore they kind of keep the face more open. And if the path is going one way but the face is going the other way, that's why the ball is going to do what it's doing. So again, that's traditionally why you slice the golf ball, but why do we have a club path coming over the top or outside to in and then feel the need to kind of try to square that face up and spray the ball that way? Well, there's 3 main reasons, all right? And I'm going to go over them today. First is we're not using our lead leg into the ground, or we're not driving our lead leg into the ground to clear the hips. Second, we're not getting enough torso side bend. Okay? So we talk a lot about turn in the golf swing. We talk about getting more turn, but we don't talk about side bend. And third, trail arm, shoulder rotation, external rotation. Okay, so I'll go through these, not too in depth, but I'll give you a little bit of idea what I'm talking about here. A lot of our golfers that we work with, when we see an issue with an over-the-top pattern, okay, when the path is coming over the top, one of the things that does not happen is the individual does not clear the hips, right? They don't get the hips through, and so the club can't kind of follow suit inside to out to cover the ball. What they tend to do is maybe push off of the trail foot, and they move their body towards the ball, and they don't clear the hip, and so the path of the club can't follow suit. If the hips don't clear, meaning they don't rotate, then the only really true thing that the club can do is come down on the ball or come more vertical and across the ball. It's very, very tough to have a golfer keep their hips square or not rotate and clear their hips and have the club path still come inside out. It's just, in the golf swing, it's not really physically all that possible. Okay, so the first thing that a lot of us need to do, instead of kind of pushing off that trail leg, as we come to the top and pushing off that trail leg, we need to start really getting solid at getting into the lead leg, driving the lead leg into the ground and having that ground reaction force, which helps kind of create this whip from the hips. And if you notice what happens, as I press into this ground and my lead leg interacts with that ground and rebounds from the ground, my hips come through, right? If I push off my trail leg, I'm just shifting my body towards the target. If I push into my lead leg, my hips rotate and clear. And you can see from this arm position, if I push with my trail leg, nothing really happens at my arms and my hands. If I push with my lead leg into the ground and my hips clear, you can see my hands start to actually drop. And that's where you're going to get that more inside to out path. So the first thing is we got to use that lead leg to drive into the ground to help clear the hips. If you're pushing too much from the trail leg, that's going to push your hips and your body towards your target, and it's going to make it very hard for the hands to come through inside to out. It's a very physics-based thing, but it's tough to come inside out without rotating the lower body. Basically, we're trying to create a whip, right? If I create a whip with the lower body by driving into that lead leg, then the club is going to kind of whip and follow suit, and that whip is going to be more of a inside to out pattern with the club. If you're not driving into the lead leg and you're thinking about pulling the hands down, essentially what's going to happen is we're just going to get trapped, right? Because you're not creating that rotational whip. So that's what's challenging about a cue like just dropping the hands without actually getting into the lead leg, okay? Number two, so that's the first one. Number one is driving into the lead leg to clear the hips to get that whip versus pushing off of the trail leg, which is a very common thing with a lot of the golfers we see. Number two is that upper body side bend, okay? So a lot of us are training and talking about getting more rotation, getting a bigger turn, but the thing about the golf swing, especially when we talk about a forward flex position, is as I rotate, there also needs to be relative side bend with the golf swing. So just training rotational mobility is not good enough. We need to be able to train a little bit of that side bend as well. And why that becomes important, again, showing you more from the front. If I take the club back and I don't get this relative side bend this way to bring the hands kind of through and down, and I just come here, it's very tough as I do this. The only thing that I can really do is chop down across the ball, right? But if I can get my trunk here on that, on the transition or top that back down to impact, if I can start to get this side bend, it allows my trail arm, my trail shoulder to dip underneath and again actually promote that inside to out pattern. We don't want the outside to in. So torso side bend. There's a lot of good mobility drills and things that we can work on where we're not just working on rotation, we're actually working on side bend. The more you can get that side bend and get that trail shoulder down, right, as you come back to the ball, the more you're going to be able to take that inside to out path. All right? And then number three, very, very common one, is this trail arm, okay? So now I'm facing the other way for you, and I'm aiming towards the net here with my target. If I take the club back and I can't get relative external rotation with this trail arm, and I'm hanging out more here, you can kind of get a sense of what happens, right? So here is kind of this good external rotation at the lead arm, and you can see where that club goes. So as I come down, I'm going to be able to come a little bit more inside out. If I can't get that trail arm rotation, this is where a lot of us get, and as I come back down, look at where the club is going to go. It almost has to go outside the in. So at the top, this trail shoulder rotation, the trail shoulder health, becomes incredibly important. If I want to get that setup at the top, or that position at the top, in a good position, and have this trail elbow tucked under to get that club to lay back a little bit more like that and come down and underneath and through, I gotta have rotation here, right? It's really tough without shoulder rotation to not have the club be more vertical like this, right? If I can get here, that helps me come a little bit more inside out. If I have to be here, it's very hard to come back to the ball and not be outside the in. So, as you can tell, there are physical aspects with the body that promote an over-the-top pattern, okay? So to me, a lot of times what happens is the club follows what the body can do, and the ball follows what the club can do. So a slice, the easy answer, if you've worked with a swing coach or an instructor, the easier answer is, well, we got to get you inside out, and we got to get that face more square relative to your path, or a little bit closer relative to your path. And that makes so much sense on paper to just start saying, that's what we got to do. The challenge is physically, a lot of us are not set up to do that. And there's two things. Not everybody, especially as we age, not everybody is going to be able to make these huge physical changes in a short period of time to all of a sudden start delivering the club to the ball like that. But if you have awareness about it existing, you can certainly change other things and work around it, okay? And as a good swing coach will be able to help you do that if they have that information. But most of us, a lot of us, can make these physical changes to be able to have those sort of swing changes and then have the relative or the resultant ball path be what we want it to be. So recapping really quick, lead hip. You got to start driving the lead leg into the ground and interacting with the lead with the ground through that lead leg so that you can clear the hips, and then that club can follow suit, right? If I'm pushing with the trail leg and I'm just going towards my target, it's really hard to get that resultant clearing of the hips, and then the club is just going to go right across the body over the top. Number two, upper body side bend, right? It's really, really hard to have an inside to out path if I can't get this lateral tilt. The golf swing is not just rotation, right? There's a lot of for every degree of rotation, there's almost a degree of side bend that has to happen rotationally. So that's the second thing, so that you can get that trail shoulder underneath and coming through. And then third, that trail arm rotation at the top of the swing, that needs to be solid. All right? Hope everybody enjoyed that. You have a wonderful day.